Welcome to Talking Plant Protein. This is going to be a very popular interview. My guest today is the co-founder and CEO of NextGen, the very successful brand behind TiNDLE. Please welcome Andre Menezes.
Thank you very much. So happy to be here with you and to share a little bit more about our company and story.
I know people are going to be tuning in to hear your secrets behind the success, but first I want to talk about you. So give me a little bit about your professional history.
Cool. So my career is actually extremely non-linear. I'm a mechanical engineer, and out of all places, I end up going for investment fund, and from investment fund, I end up going later to the meat industry, which was the largest poultry exporter in the world. That was part of the portfolio from the investment fund I used to work with. That's how I got connected into the meat industry first. And then from that meat industry experience upstream, that was back in Brazil, I had the chance of being seconded again, this time from the company, to a joint venture here in Singapore, which was responsible for doing all the distribution of foods in here. It's the largest food distribution here in Singapore. So it was a company about $200 million revenue, with 2 factories doing some meat processing, over 50 trucks running around, distributing mostly meat. So what was really interesting in that journey is that I was conflicted by my engineer mindset, my investment thesis that we had for the company, and the reality I was seeing in the meat industry. So from my investment thesis, we were thinking that meat companies meat sector in general would be very highly promising in the future, while in reality, what I started seeing when I was part of the meat industry, connected to my engineering mindset, is that it's such a highly inefficient system. And as such, I was asking myself whether that would ever make sense in the long term. And somehow we were able to build that as humanity over the last, thousands of years as animal farming. But it's not a technology that will answer the future problems of our planet in terms of resource utilization and all. So, as a career progression, it was only natural to me to really connect to what was next, and what was next. It's plant-based foods for me. And I started distributing Impossible Foods here in Singapore, still as part of my previous company. And I really got so much in love with that space. It's something so, proving to meat lovers like myself that you could actually make that delicious meat experience without the animal. And from there, I decided to leave my career path and jump into the entrepreneurial journey. That's how I started in action.
So you come with an incredible amount of experience, as well as your co-founder. However, you still started this business from scratch. And what I think is unique is you had a global mindset. So share your views on that.
That's exactly right. So Timo, he had his company Like Meat, which he started back in Germany in 2012. And he brought it up from nothing to a successful, profitable, over 20 million euros revenue company, which he sold to the Live Kindly Collective in 2020, early 2020. That was one of the most successful exits in the plant-based history. But as entrepreneurs are always looking for more and looking for doing better than we did before. And for myself, after the experience I had with global meat businesses, with meat distribution, with investment fund, I also wanted to take on an entrepreneurial role and build up a global leader. So we were very happy to be here in Singapore at the same time, both of us ending the previous step of our careers. And we decided to put together everything we've learned in our own experiences around the globe in meat and plant-based, upstream and downstream, and also considering everything we learned from other food techs, such as Impossible Foods, when I had experience of working very closely with them, and they're a great company. So we basically designed NextGen Foods from day one to bring everything we had learned that was the best, be from our experience with other companies, and put up a business model that's global from day one. That means that instead of doing something small and trying to figure out how to grow, we are building from day one something highly scalable and global, and that will enable us to accelerate so much faster. I think an important proof point for that is that in less than a year, we actually already launched in Singapore, and less than 3 months after the launch in Singapore, we started our international expansion in Hong Kong, Macau, and many other markets to come.
So it is certainly possible, but I'm sure there were challenges along the way. Tell us about some that you experienced and overcame.
Yeah, I mean, when I share our path, it almost sounds like it was very smooth and easy. But the reality is that we started, if you think about it, we started in the middle of the pandemic, the highest level of pandemic. Back in April in 2020, it was when all the markets melted down, when all the borders really shut. There was absolutely no idea of what was going to happen financially for the world. The markets really melted, and we had moments in which we asked ourselves before starting, should we start this right now? Should we wait a few months? We knew that whatever we were going to do was not going to be a local small business. We wanted to make a global business. We're very clear about it. And we were asking ourselves, how can we make a global business without traveling, without being able to leave the island? And that's not really going to work. So maybe we wait for a while, wait for the pandemic to be over and start. But guess what? Luckily we didn't. Our entrepreneurial grit spoke louder, and at the end of the day we decided to do. But the interesting thing is that because of the restrictions we had and the ambition we had as well, we decided to, we designed a business model that's really completely digital tech. Our factories in Europe, we have worked with people all around the world. We have launched in different markets. We never really left Singapore since we started this journey.
So let's talk TiNDLE.
Sure. TiNDLE is it's the result of this, the first result of this journey, and it all started when we assessed the market and we assessed our own capabilities. And we understood that there was a huge gap in the market for plant-based chicken. While many people would say that it's a busy market, and the reality is that that may be true for some categories, say, for example, nuggets or tenders or some of those products. But we realized that there was no one doing plant-based chicken that could really deliver one of the key aspects of chicken, which is versatility. So when we started this journey, as one thing that we always do at NextGen is really understanding consumers in detail and starting from there. So what we learned is that chicken is really basically means the fibrous texture and the result of the bite from there. It means that chicken smell and aroma, which chicken taste, which comes from mostly from chicken fat. And also the versatility. We realized that the versatility component was not being addressed by anyone in the market. We have a very strong internal R&D capability with our CTO, who has over 20 years of experience in this space. And we know for a fact that animal protein chicken is the fastest growing, is becoming the biggest right now. It's the most trendy, it's the most innovative, and the most universal. So it became quite obvious to us that we could unite our ability to address all of those challenges with a market need that was not being addressed yet. And that's how TiNDLE was born.
And why has it been so successful?
Yes, we're just starting the journey, right? So the start has been very successful, and we do have much higher ambitions than what we are today. We're just really starting, but the successful start, I guess it's probably credited to this full understanding of consumers, as you said, as well as customers. So we understood exactly what our consumers were looking for, what are the things that they really want, as well as our customers. So in this case, the chefs, the best chefs, what are they really looking for in plant-based or even in chicken? And when we engineered our product, our go-to-market strategy, our brand, we made sure to address all of those needs to the best of our ability, to address all of those needs and make sure that consumers, chefs would really love what we were bringing to the market. And we couldn't be happier with the response from Michelin star chefs, from master chefs, from Final Table, Netflix Final Table chefs, and Michelin star restaurants in Singapore and Hong Kong. It's been really outstanding.
And let's talk about your first round of funding, which is really what catapulted you into the press and the headlines.
We last year when we started the company, we decided not to take an external investment first until we had clarity on the business model that we were designing, and then Timo invested himself. He capitalized the company $2.2 million US from his own pocket, and then we went for a first external investment round. Also had clarity on a business model, which sort of investors we wanted to bring on board, but then it was such an outstanding round with such a high quality of investors, and it was hugely oversubscribed, that initially our plan was to raise 7 million and wait until we were out there launching many markets and then go for a bigger raise. But the demand was so high and we had so many great names that we actually had to raise 10 million. That was closed in the beginning of the year. And after that, we obviously launched in Singapore, we obviously launched in Hong Kong, and the traction is so good and so strong that more great names of investors actually came back to us and asked to be part of this journey, which we did. And just today we announced that we have closed an extension of that round, and we raised actually another 20 million on top of the 10, and that's basically to allow us to grow further in APAC, in the Middle East, and also prepare for the US market entry.
It's very exciting news. Thank you for sharing that with us. What do you have to say to the startups who are approaching this industry, which is growing so rapidly, and how they should be positioning themselves in front of investors?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is to be really genuine to what you really represent, what you really believe, not trying to enact anything, because obviously if you are genuine, it's going to be much more powerful in terms of what you are communicating and delivering. But I think the most important point that I see from my friends in startups that eventually invest or advise or mentor, it's not to be really focused, unidimensionally focused on the product or the technology only, because that's only one out of a few components, but also to take a look holistically, and most importantly, for what investors are looking for, which is how do you take that technology, that product, whatever you have that is your unique differentiation point, and transform it into a scalable business. Ultimately, investors are looking for a return for their investments, and return to their investments is pretty much linked to the ability of that company to grow and become profitable eventually. So having a great product is fantastic. It's one of the elements, but most importantly, how do you transform that into a great business, considering brand, considering product, considering business model, and the team that are going to put in place. Without those, really that idea will not become a business, and investors will not be highly excited about it.
And what's different about the power behind TiNDLE?
What's different behind the power, or the power behind TiNDLE? I guess it's that sheer drive to prove to consumers that plant-based foods, as opposed to what has been happening for decades in consumers' minds, plant-based foods are not associated with a worse experience and not associated with compromises. They are simply associated with a better technology to produce delicious food. And consumers in general have a perception that the plant-based diet would necessarily mean that you are compromising your taste, your texture experience. But since the few recent years that we have seen some few of the brands out there being able to prove that was not necessarily the case, TiNDLE is exactly that approach. The power of TiNDLE in that sense is elevating that to the next level, and bringing that to the chicken category, which no one has really done, to the culinary perspective, to the versatility point of view, and connecting to the consumers on the very deep level, without being preachy, without telling consumers what to do. What we do is just bring a better protein source that's delicious, it's sustainable, and everyone loves eating it. So that's what we do. I think that's probably what it's so powerful about the brand, but obviously as well the fact that we can scale up globally so quickly, and we're not restricted by any GMO ingredient, which we don't have. We only have 9 ingredients, and we do everything in a way that we can basically grow in every single country around the world without any restriction, because we don't really use novel ingredients. That's also very powerful for us to expand globally and create a bigger impact.
Really, everything about you guys is smart. Your advertising is smart. There's so much buzz around what you guys are doing, and congratulations on all of your success. Tell us what's next.
Well, thank you very much. So for us is really just a start right now, and what's next for us is really growing, expanding our geography base. So it's really about expanding into more markets, and bringing TiNDLE brand and TiNDLE product into many different countries. So you will see that we're already in 3 markets right now: Singapore, Hong Kong, Macau. We have Kuala Lumpur coming, and we have Dubai coming in September. We just announcing as well now. We expect to be in at least 5 markets by the end of the year. And we're working very closely on a plan on how to enter the US within the next 12 months. So US is the biggest market, and we're looking closely on how to grow in the US. So on what's next is basically this geographic expansion for now. Until next year, we may have another fundraise in early 2022 to keep fueling expansion into other places on Earth. And looking forward further ahead, we will also have different categories. We're not going to stop in chicken. Chicken is only our starting point. But we do see potential to use our networks, our knowledge, and our business model to expand different categories around the globe as well. And we will do that once TiNDLE is widely present in the world.
Well, we appreciate your time. We're catching you on a day where you've announced your seed raise extension, and I know it has been a crazy day for you. So again, thank you for joining us on Talking Plant Protein.
My pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for having the opportunity to be here with you.